my friends, I am in my classroom wearing this mask so that I don't get germs on other people and other people don't get germs inside of me. But I'm all by myself, so I'm going to take it off for right now. And we're going to talk a little bit about germs. Right now, we especially just don't want to get germs on everybody all over the place. We don't want them on our hands. We don't want them in our nose. We don't want them in our mouth. So we're going to wash our hands really good, and we're going to wear a mask when we're not at home by ourselves, when we're out with other people. And that's why we're wearing those masks, so that we can all be safe. So what we're going to do today is we're going to draw and paint some germs, but we're going to do them a little bit differently. These are some germs under a microscope. They're so tiny we have to look at them under a microscope. Look how fuzzy they are, and each one looks different. So we're going to draw some fuzzy, crazy germs. We've used brushes to paint. We've used sponges to paint. Today we're going to use a fork. A fork? Yes, we're going to use a fork. Let me show you how. So to make our ugly little fuzzy germs, we're going to work with basic shapes. Circles, triangles, rectangles, and squares. And we're going to also use a fork and different colors of paint to make our germs. So decide what shape you want to work with first. I'm going to work with my square first. And what color? I don't know. Maybe I'll make him this little turquoise color right here. And I'm going to dip the prongs of my fork into the paint. And I'm going to color him all over. Dip and color around the outside of the shape. I want my germ to look super fuzzy and weird. There we go. So I'm going to go all the way around that square shape, and then I'm going to fill it in as best I can in the middle. Oops, I got a little blob, so I'll just make that work with my shape. There he goes. Okay? So he is a fuzzy little germ, and I'm going to use a paper towel just to kind of wipe that fork a little bit. And then I'll go to, say, the rectangle. Maybe I'll make the rectangle yellow. How's that? Get a little bit of yellow. I'm going to do the same thing. Now, some of the turquoise is still on my fork, and it's kind of mixing a little bit with that yellow paint. That's okay. I think that will make my germ look a little bit more interesting, to be honest with you. So I'm going to leave it just like that. And then I'm going to fill all inside. There we go. Use my paper towel just to wipe off my fork and go to the next germ. Let's make this one green. Circle green. Notice that I am turning the paper around and around. I'm being careful not to stick my finger into the wet paint. But as I turn the paper around carefully, I can make that germ look super fuzzy. There we go. Wipe it off with the paper towel and go to the next one. Let's make that triangle germ purple. There we go. So I'm going to go all around that triangle shape as I keep turning the paper with one hand and tap, tap, tapping with the fork on the other hand, and then fill it in the middle. Wipe it off. My paper towel's getting super dirty. And go to the last one. This one is going to be orange. He is another circle. So I'll tap, tap, tap all the way around. With my fork, we've painted with brushes and sponges, and now, how silly, we are painting with a fork. But that gives us that perfect fuzzy look for our germ. There we go. All right. Now, if you have paint on your hands, it's time to wash your hands and get those germs off. And then the fork, of course, and the paper towel are going to go in the trash can. Okay? So let's get that part done first. Teachers, at this point, you're probably going to want to let these germ paintings dry overnight, especially with the humidity that we're going to have this week, so that they're nice and dry before we go on to the next step. For the next step, we're going to make eyeballs for our germ monsters. So I have a bunch of circles, and we'll cut all of these out. But first, before we cut, let's put a little pupil in the middle of each eye. We can put it right in the center, or we could put it off to one side. But you just want one dot in each circle. So I'm going to quickly just kind of put one dot in each circle. I don't want it too big, and I don't want it too small. So I'm just making a little dot in there. Then we'll take our scissors and practice our cutting as we cut out these circles. Remember, when you use scissors, you put your thumb on top and you use the opposite hand to twirl the paper. We don't twirl the scissors, we twirl the paper. And we're just going to cut those out. Now, sometimes I think it's easier to cut each one apart and then cut it out that way, which is fine. So we're going to practice our cutting. Notice I'm going slowly with little short strokes. There we go. And then I'll just cut around that. All right, so I'll give you some time to do that. So now I have a pile of eyeballs and some scraps. I'm going to throw the scraps in the trash can. I don't need those anymore. Just make sure you don't throw away your eyes. And then I'm going to get out my monsters. So now it is time to do a little bit of gluing. Now, here's the fun part. Your monsters can have one eyeball. Like maybe I'll give this guy just one, so I'll put one drop there. This one might have 3, so I'm going to put 3 drops there, and then maybe 2. So you decide how many eyes you think your monsters should have. And you just put a drop of glue on there. Then use your pincher fingers just to pick them up and set them right in the little drops of glue. I'm going to put the bigger eyes on the monsters that have one eyeball, and then maybe the smaller ones on the monsters that have 3 eyeballs. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? And then the medium ones on the monsters that really only have 2 eyeballs. You might use them all up, and you might end up not using all of them. That's okay. And you're just going to place those little eyes right on there. And then for the last step, we're going to give our monsters some legs. Simple legs and feet. And then we're going to give our monsters some hands. There's an arm with just 2 fingers, because you know my monsters just have 2 fingers. And then maybe a mouth. And he's ready to go. Here's a little germ here. Maybe this germ has 3 arms and 2 legs with a wiggly mouth. So we can just put arms and legs on our monsters. Okay? There we go. Have fun with this. Be creative.